Yeah, so good morning, everybody. Yeah, I was already listening a little bit your discussion before, and yeah, the topic of today was originally and is now, as I learned, only data dissemination on that last day of the seasonal school this year. Yeah, my name is Matthias Pauli, and uh, I'm a data curator at PANGAEA and also involved in the NFDI for Biodiversity project. Also you did later on in this talk, she will take over for a couple of slides. Also, she is involved in this NFDI for Biodiversity. I'm based at the MARUM, University of Bremen. By training, I'm a biologist with a background of marine ecology, biodiversity and taxonomy. And among the NFDI for biodiversity data centers, I'm representing PANGAEA in the consortia. Just to give a short overview, what is PANGAEA? It's a data publisher for Earth, environmental and biodiversity science data. It has been established already 30 years ago, and it's an open access and free of charge data repository for multidisciplinary data. It has a historical background coming from a database of core data, so marine cores, sediment cores, earth crust cores, and developed more and more into a really multidisciplinary data repository. The data quite often is very heterogeneous, so different types of data and different types of data files we archive, but we focus mainly on tabular data, but also binary data like pictures, images, videos, specific file types from seismic research projects we can archive and publish. But our focus is Earth, environmental and biodiversity science so far. Our services are quality control because each submitted data set is actually at least a little bit manually reviewed and manually created. So this serves as a quality control and is quite useful as we see in our daily business as curators and editors. And another service is that the archiving of data is long-term, so 10 years and more. And the data publication is as fair as possible. I don't know if you came across already the FAIR principles of data publishing, but I will pick it up here and then in my slides. So you will hear it quite often in my talk. And what we also do is a dissemination, the topic of today, of research data, which means not only our landing page, which you can see here on the right side, is the way to access data sets archived in PANGAEA, but also we can push data to other portals, or the PANGAEA database is harvested by other portals or repositories or databases. PANGAEA is a split group based at 2 locations: the hosting institute, AWI, Alfred Wegener Institute, Helmholtz Center for Polar and Marine Research in Bremerhaven, a couple of kilometers north of me. From here, Bremen, where I'm based, at the MARUM, a Center for Marine Environmental Sciences at the University of Bremen. PANGAEA is accredited by the International Council for Sciences as a World Data Center since 2001. Since 2007, it holds a mandate from the World Meteorological Organization to host the World Radiation Monitoring Center and its data, and has been certified as a trustworthy long-term data archive by Core Trust Seal, also a brand or a seal, which you might step over already during the last days since 2019. For letter, that means, or letter means that, for example, we guarantee a long-term storage of the data, at least 10 years, but I have to say, so far within these 30 years, we never lost or deleted any data sets. So practically, right at the moment, the archiving period is unlimited so far. Just to give some numbers, the data set repository of PANGAEA published so far 430,000 data sets, which means 31 billion data points, single measurements. More than 860 projects are represented in our data, although not all data sets are really assigned to a specific project. And about 10,000 or almost 10,000 new data sets per year we are able to process and to publish. The team is not so large, I would say, but in total we are about 40 colleagues involved in PANGAEA. Most of my colleagues are based at either at the AVI or the MARUM here in the area of Bremen, and some of them are data curators with a strong scientific background and doing mainly the processing of the data submissions and the publication of research data. But also some colleagues are involved in scientific projects as project and data managers. Some of these current associated projects where PANGAEA colleagues are involved are, for example, the European Union project Arctic Passion, or the German Research Alliance projects underway research data, Extreme, Primevention, and so on, Mosaic Expedition. Some people are almost exclusively working for that large project, let's say, and last but not least, also NFDI for biodiversity, just to name some. Also, part of the team are, of course, some software developers to keep pace with new developments and techniques evolving during the time. And also, of course, such a team needs some kind of management and coordination. Additionally, there are also data curators which were trained at PANGAEA, but are actually employed in associated partner institutions like the GeoMar, Helmholtz Center for Ocean Research, or the Marine, I have to look, the Leibniz Center for Tropical Marine Research in Bremen, or the Helmholtz Center for Environmental Research in Leipzig, the Max Planck Institute for Chemistry in Mainz, because they also run a ship, and different other institutions as far as Ocean Acidification International Coordination Center. A colleague is working there based in a university in China. These are our, let's say, front offices, but they are not employees, strictly employees of PANGAEA or the hosting institutes. So I just want to ask that question. I think what was asked already a couple of times, I think, during the course of the last 4 days. Why share and publish your data? So you said it already in the discussion before. More and more home institutions, funding agencies, and journals require publication of their data, make the data accessible and available, also open access. This is yeah, a trend which is more and more important, I think, to think about as a researcher. And I think here just some examples. If you look in the guidelines of the German Research Foundation, or if you look at the guidelines for authors of several Elsevier or Nature journals, you will find points pointing out that you should state at least how you make the data available. So I don't know exactly because I was not taking part really the last days how much this already was addressed. But what are the benefits for the data authors to publish their research data? What is the motivation beside the rather formal things that it's going to be mandatory? Um, So it boosts the total number of publications in your profile, and also data set publications are getting more and more recognized as publications to be added to your scientific profile. It increases the visibility and findability by also the interdisciplinary scientific community and general public, because yeah, they may step over your data. It's not anymore hidden in a really specific journal. So it's really also opening your research to an interdisciplinary community. That increases the reach of your research internationally, World Wide Web, whatever. It's just yeah, increasing the reach of your research results. The recognition and reputation, I said already, is also increasing, and the number of collaborations may also increase because of the points I addressed before. It boosts also the citations of your scientific articles. Your data is also cited. This you should not forget. So you're getting more and more cited, which is also maybe boosting your overall citation. And a major or a not neglectable benefit of data publications that all persons involved in the data collection and processing can easily be credited for their work without being necessarily a co-author on an associated manuscript paper written outcome. So this is also not neglectable. For the society, it reduces and avoids duplication of work and scientific experiments, because you can easily find similar experiments or studies and can decide, okay, is this really still worth to look at, or should I focus on another aspect? So it's reducing really a lot of scientific effort and work. It makes your data accessible for reuse and reinterpretation. Sometimes you don't have the best ideas what to read out of your data, but maybe someone else has. And like this, at least your data is accessible to others. And also in the long run, um, maybe even later new techniques develops, opening new windows to interpret newly your results or your data, not your results, but more your data. And also it makes the results, your scientific results, more comprehensible on the basis of the underlying data. And this also makes your research more transparent and credible. The credibility of your results are actually is actually increasing. Makes results easier to replicate and verifiable. Yeah, here the same point increases the robustness of your results and the correctness of your results, because also you have to focus on the replicability of your data, and you provide all the data and metadata, so that yeah, the study is much easier to understand. And it allows the data use from multiple sources, like in meta-analysis, to integrate your data with other data to gain new knowledge, which is actually also an important thing. And to the society, the benefits are that it preserves scientific knowledge and ensures future availability. Mostly science is financed by public money. So it's also an interest of the society, of the community outside academia, that the data is stored for long term and accessible. It facilitates the access to research data for people outside the academia, and increases the transparency and strengthens public's trust in science. Maybe also something we shouldn't forget. And it avoids redundant and repeat time-consuming work. As I said already, the benefit for the scientific community. So, but also for the society, of course, because, as I said before, research normally or mainly is financed publicly, and this reduces the scientific effort, minimizes unintended double funding, and saves public funds at the end. Here again, the wording fair. What does it mean? The data should be findable, discoverable with machine-readable metadata, but also readable by humans, and identifiable and locatable through standard identification mechanisms, such as persistent identifiers. I come to this in the next slides. It should be available and obtainable to both human and machines. Also here, long-term storage is an important point among this topic, but also the accessibility, free of charge open access is an important feature. Synthetically analyzable and semantically comprehensible should be your data set to be interoperable with other data, and data should be exchangeable and reusable among even scientific disciplines. So not only in a specific discipline bubble, it can be reinterpreted and reused, but also on a wider range of disciplines, scientific disciplines, but even also outside science, like from institutions, organizations, NGOs, and and countries, and so on. Wilkinson et al. They actually published a paper about that fair guiding principles for scientific data management and stewardship. So I just copied that link here. And what they mention regarding findability, but you find it also in all the other aspects of the FAIR principle, are persistent identifiers, PIDs. They are machine readable, and they identify an object or almost everything digital And actually, we know similar things, unique persistent identifiers from our daily life. When you think in license plates or ESBN, International Standard Serial Book numbers, the IBAN of your bank account, your telephone number, the tax number, credit card number, whatever. So PIDs are a little bit like this. And we use PIDs in the data set or the data curation and data publishing in all the different aspects connected to your data. So if you think in the researcher doing the scientific work and all the contributors, you can add the ORCID ID to each individual researcher, and like this, the researcher is findable and the data is always referable to that specific individual. Institutions most institutions and organizations we come across have already raw IDs, which is a registry for organizations and institutions, and the raw ID is a PID. For publications, we know it. I think that most of the, at least recent publications, do have a DOE, or Digital Object Identifier, as a PID. And also software and data can be referred to DOIs or URNs in terms of other IDs used by, for example, taxonomic databases or registries like WORMS, iDiv, or a little bit also GBIF, and many more. Funders can be referred to either raw ID or the Crossref funder DOE. So also funders are identifiable, findable, and assignable to data sets, and this helps a lot. And also grants actually sometimes can get a DOI, so that also all the other points can be referred, or your data set can be referred, the publications can be referred to a specific grant or award or a specific project. Just to have a look in what does it mean for the ORCID ID, which we highly recommend to submit with data so that we can assign it directly to the data set. So you as an individual researcher are findable and unmistakably related to that data set. You can see if you only have the name and the first name, sometimes it remains pretty unclear if people are talking about the same person or not. And names may change, email may change, affiliation may change, spelling of the name may vary, umlauts, accented characters, so on and so forth. These are all reasons why something like ORCID ID, a personal, a scholarly identifier, makes sense. For institutions, also their institutions and organizations may be renamed. This is pretty often the case, for example, for Max Planck Institutes, but you also find it in all the ministries. When a legislation period is over, then some of the ministries are renamed and so on. So locations may be renamed, so it makes sense to have an identifier for institutions and organizations, and it does no longer matter what is changing. For example, from the daily business, I can report that I had some South African researchers submitting a data set, and let's say in the last 2 decades, a couple of cities were renamed in South Africa, uh, historical reasons, but their PIDs make things much more clearer and identifiable. Yeah, the big question, where to publish your data. Search for the appropriate data repository for your data depends really also on the kind of data you have and the focus you have. These are just some examples of repositories where you can actually get a PID for your research data, but there are much, much more. If you want to get a good idea of what is out there in terms of registries, you can use, for example, these two, but also there are many more uh, registries where you can check for suitable and trustable repositories.